House Television Network.
The Tamara Scott Show. Tamara has served as the state director for one of America's largest pro-life, pro-family public policy organizations. In 2007, Tamara was named one of America's top 10 most influential kingmakers by the Religion News Association. Tamara has spent years proclaiming and defending the values of a Christian worldview that is the foundation of our constitutional republic. And now, here is your host, Tamara Scott.
Hey everybody, welcome. I am Tamara Scott. It is the Tamara Scott Show. We're starting whether we're ready or not. How's that? It's Tuesday, and I'm thrilled to have our guest with us today. I always love it when Dennis Behrman stops by. I just realized I left his book over there. Dennis Behrman, I was on a wonderful trip this last weekend to the Greenbrier. I don't know if you're familiar with the Greenbrier, but I got to meet some colleagues there, and we got to go underground and see the underground bunker. Yeah. And everything we were talking about, conspiracy theories. And here was this actual underground bunker from 1956 to 1992. No one gave it up. The people that worked there, and it comes to find out that a lot of the folks that worked there, I had read, some of them were engineers disguised as like garden lawn keepers. Others were, I don't know, disguised in other ways. But so the actual intelligence folks weren't actually heading to work, as a uniformed employee. They had other things they were doing. But it was interesting. But bringing this to you in my scattered way this morning, because I was telling the ladies I was with about your book, Endgame. Oh. I'm just telling you, mine's over there. But I think it's just I think a great guide, but a hand guide to what we're seeing today. And as you know, bless your heart, every time I see something and I'm like, Dennis, and I text you, I try not to text you in the middle of the night in case you have your notifications on, but I need to do it when I see it or I may not find it again. So thank you for joining us today, my friend.
You're welcome, Tamara, and thank you for sending over all those things, and never hesitate. It could be in the middle of the night. That's fine. I'm totally okay with that.
You never know if it's 4 o'clock in the morning, if I'm getting up, starting my day, or if I'm still up.
It's been a long night.
Caught up. You probably know this. When you get caught up in something, you just get absorbed in it. And I'm very blessed to have a family that lets me do my thing.
Absolutely.
All right. Today, I think we're going to talk about transhumanism. But before we go there, what do you think is pressing? What do you think that we as citizens need to have our eyes on? There's so much coming at us.
Well, it's easy to get caught up into the headlines of the moment and to be worried about what is the stock market doing? Are crops going to fail this year? What's the weather doing to agriculture? What's the fertilizer price? What's happening today in Hormuz, in the Strait? All those things can take your attention off longer term thinking. And when I say longer term thinking, I'm not saying, well, we got a plan for 25 years down the road. 12 to 36 months. 12 to 36 months is the longer term thinking I'm proposing here, because we are in a period of extremely rapid change. And all of the daily events that take place, whether it be terrible extreme weather that just hit parts of Wisconsin that I'm very familiar with and destroyed an entire city, or it's the price of gas, or it's whether you got to get your crops in on time or get them harvested on time. All of those things are important, but we can't take our eyes off of the real big civilizational changes that are coming at us really, really fast and are being driven still to this day by a globalist elite cadre of real radical people who want to remake the world and even remake humanity itself. And so that's why it's so important for us to sometimes step back and take a look at that broader picture, because we are being driven through our distractions to an end that maybe isn't one that we want.
Well said. Let me come back to the way I usually open this show. I tell everybody that we talk about anything and everything, because if God expects you to live through it, He directs you how to do it. We talk about the headlines and living God's word when the headlines hit home. But here's the deal. We always remind you, God has a plan for you. Don't get distracted by what you see in the headlines. Yes, read them. Know what's coming at you so that you can be prepared prepared and prepared, prepared and prepared. And you can have a strategy in place. If you are ready to face it, you are less likely to be fearful. You are less likely to panic, the anxiety. You can handle all of it. And if you trust the Savior, the one who gave you life, if you trust the scriptures, who says no matter what you face, he will get you through it. It may not always be as you like, but he will carry you through. If you trust that, you'll have a lot less of this anxiety and the other issues we see in our society today, whether it's mental health, depression, discouragement, all of those. Keep your eyes on him and the plan he has for you. I just want to make you aware of what you're facing. Yesterday, we played part one of a video of Yuval Harari. You may all recognize him. We often see him around the WEF, World Economic Forum, maybe the WHO. I often, when I hear his voice, kind of cringe because I don't always not usually appreciate what he's saying. Yesterday, we played the first 8 minutes of a clip, and I said to you, I don't know if this is AI, if this is factual, but I think this is something we should listen to. And it was his voice, I assume, telling us about how this generation of kids born after 2020 is going to be the first one. And I'm going to start with that clip today for you to tell you where you're at. But basically, they're telling us we'll either be happy and do what AI instructs us to do, move if AI tells us to move, change vocations if AI tells us to change a vocation, or we'll be unhappy and unproductive if we try to have a life. And I think they said genuinely make our own decisions. I think that's how they said it. So let me check my time here. Oh, we do have time. Shall we start with 12:08, Dennis?
I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay, well, actually, I'm giving you the wrong time, Thomas. I sent you an email. I think I have some of the new timestamps in there for you. But let me see. I think we're going to start right at 8 minutes, Thomas. And this is a Yuval Harari. And Thomas did a great job. You did a great job yesterday keeping up with me on all of my timestamps. So let's just start at 7:53. Let's start at 7:53. And let's take a pause at 8:06. And then we're going to go again. So let's start.
Experience is coming down. Kids born after 2020 are the first generation in human history for whom faking a convincing experience is easier than documenting a genuine one.
All right, so we can almost see that already, right?
Yeah, that's been going on now for a few years, actually.
And he warned in the video yesterday that we're all going to accept this because it's already happening. It's been happening in our classrooms. It's been happening by the songs that are recommended for us. It's been happening by the ads that we see. He said, you're going to accept it out of convenience. And I see that. All right, let's start at 8:07 and we'll go to, I think about 8:19. Let's go to 8:28.
An 8-year-old today can open a free app and produce video of herself chatting with dinosaurs, floating through space, or having a heart-to-heart with any celebrity, living or dead. For this generation, did this actually happen is already starting to matter less than did this experience mean something.
We see that. Dennis, I had Bonnie Gasper from Child Protection League on a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
He was telling us that Generation Z is the first generation that will have cognitive less function than their parents or those before them, simply because of the screen time in school,
Yep.
the screen time, the way they learn, and the fact that they don't think knowledge is something that they should have as an asset. It's something they can search.
Yeah, we see that taking place now, and I'm not going to name names. Anyone who wants to look this up can. I don't think it'd be hard to find, but there's a very well-known NBA, National Basketball Association player, an all-star, really skilled player who graduated from college, graduated from high school, at least presumably, and about a year ago, infamously said on a podcast where he was being interviewed, and that I forget which year he claimed, but he doesn't believe that anything that is supposed to have happened prior to, I think it was 1965. I'm not sure the year he claimed ever actually happened or ever actually existed. So, the example was, do you believe in anything with, the moon landing? Well, if he wasn't the classical moon landing conspiracist, he was just simply saying, well, it happened before my window of time, so I don't believe it happened. I don't believe any of that history even existed. Now, this is again, I think, a species maybe taken to the extreme of the kind of thing you're talking about tomorrow, where the reasoning ability is being left behind on the floor, abandoned by the current younger age group and the way they're being mentally prepared in the educational system, where they are using as a crutch, and it's more extreme than that. They're using as a crutch AI and other tools like that. And you see it now more in empirical studies as well. There was a recent example where a standardized test was given with and without AI, and the big decline between the AI assisted answers and the natural answers from, I believe, the same demographic cohort was dramatic, like a 40% difference somewhere in there. And so we're raising a generation, the first generation probably of kids who cannot reason without the supplemental technology that helps them get there. And to be a, I'll go, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself with what Yuval Harari is going to say, but to become an autonomous human, like everyone has always had to be up until today, if you leave behind your ability to reason clearly, you can no longer effectively become an autonomous human. Now, is this something accidental that's happening? Or are we really seeing the trends in education that have been going on for many decades, which have been seemingly designed to create more and more malleable people as opposed to independent-minded people? This is accelerating that to the nth degree. And it's creating a class, potentially, of people, an entire population of people who will be 100% susceptible to being controlled, whether that's by AI or by politically driven narratives. People will be, this group of people will be more likely than not to not be able to independently verify, think through, logically reason, and come to conclusions for their own benefit in most cases, as compared to others. And that's a very dangerous set of circumstances for our civilization, for our culture, and for our body politic here in the United States, which is designed specifically for a thinking, moral people. And we're erasing that from our kids.
We're totally erasing the idea that we were created in the image of God.
Yeah.
A producer. God spoke the world into being by word, and he created us to be productive, creative. We're taking all those gifts, compressing them, suppressing all of that creativity.
Yeah.
I mean, they said in this video in the first part, and I have it on the Tamara Scott Show page for all of you, the Yuval Harari, it's 2030. Let me see if I can find the name of it for you. Yuval Harari, I'll find it for you when we come back on break. But that you would, if they would tell you to break up, if you would break in the relationship and move, you'd have a 300% better chance of finding a partner. Why? Because somebody's probably manufacturing that. I'll trust. I mean, there are very few matchmakers that do a good job here. I'm certainly not going to trust AI on that. We've got to go to our first break. Dennis, hold your thought. When we come back, I'll come right back to you, and then we'll go to a couple other videos as well. Come back to you all. Stay tuned. Tamara Scott, Dennis Murin, transhumanism. It's not just a word anymore. They're trying to make it a way of life.
I need to tell you about our Bella Grace. The slender little sachet has the elixir with the collagen, astaxanthin, and cat's claw. In 2022, got an award for helping with cognitive function, and in 2023, in the sports arena for active ingredients, nutrition, and format. But the best is what we hear from so many of you. You have noticed better joint health, improved mobility, less eye strain and fatigue, helping with computer vision syndrome, visual acuity, depth perception, alleviating dry eyes, but also helping with your immunity, your stress management, endurance, less fatigue overall, not just eye fatigue, muscle recovery, mental clarity, focus, and gut health. Then there's the fun list. The firmer, smoother skin texture, fewer fine lines and wrinkles, improved skin elasticity, decreased age spots, more even skin tone, improved skin hydration, reduced oxidative stress, healthier nails, less cellulite, hair health, better sleep. Who wouldn't want any of those? Call them beauty in items if you wish, but who doesn't want to feel a little bit better or more confident when you're going to present in the public square, when you're going to speak at a city council? And who just doesn't want to feel a little healthier? Maybe they're just byproducts of being healthier. More information at tamara.bellagraceglobal.com, tamara.bellagraceglobal.com.
I have the book. I'm telling you, look, it's about the size of a Bible. It's perfect. In-game. Dennis, where is In-game available? On Amazon? Where can they find this book?
Yeah, you can easily get it on Amazon. I recommend everybody check it out right there. You can pick up copies. And by the way, if you get a copy and you read it, go ahead and leave a review so other people know what you think of it, because I think that'll help other readers too. But yeah, check out Endgame on Amazon. Now, there are other Endgames out there on Amazon. So if you use Endgame plus my last name, that's going to give you the filtered results that you're going to get that to pop right up.
And Behrend, very easy to spell.
Yeah, right.
Behreandt. Behreandt. So there you go, Dennis Behrend.
My family did not change the original German.
All right. And in this book, you just kind of lay all this out. You talk about 5G, wireless, you talk about transhumanism, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, all of it, what we're hearing in the vaccines with the nanobots and some of them. And I've got a video right now we can play if we want that says that the part of the vaccines killed the ability to make blood cells. I'm not sure which color of the blood cells it was, that somehow they could add to that control. Again, this sounds so like such a conspiracy theory, but when we went to break, I told you I'd come back, so I'll let you start in wherever you want to before we went to break. Good luck. Good luck keeping up with my rabbit trails on this one.
I love the rabbit holes. There's all kinds of things to go down. But you were talking about the managed life that AI is being envisioned as bringing to us, as described in that video that from Yuval Noah Harari. And that really is the managed life that we really need to be concerned with. It's not just a matter of, as Harari describes it, this great utopian goal to have where life is going to be so much easier because AI is going to be managing your life and assisting you if you wish it to do that. If you surrender your autonomy to this managed existence, you're surrendering your freedom. And this is a system that will be based upon, I hate to say it, but it will be based upon what will come to pass is your social credit score. We've been building those behind the scenes here in the United States and in most other Western countries for decades now. And your decisions will come to play a role into what will be allowed to be given to you in your AI managed existence in the future. And that is going to be the most thoroughgoing tyranny anyone could ever have possibly imagined. It's going to exceed anything that George Orwell ever wrote about. It's going to be George Orwell on every dose of steroids you can think of. And just imagine a future in which AI knows your opinions because nanotechnology has delivered to you a neural interface. AI knows your thoughts. Your thoughts are at one point possibly straying into something that is not been manageably, socially managed acceptability. And suddenly, well, you're now assessed to be a dangerous person and are blocked off from travel, blocked off from food, blocked off from medicine. And any of these possible outcomes could come to pass once you surrender your freedom and autonomy, your decision-making skills, your ability to function as an independent person, your reasoning. You surrender all that to AI and you become susceptible to that AI. There's a downside to this as well. And Harari's not telling you what it is, but it's there.
Are you going to tell us?
That what I'm telling you is the downside. You're
That's,
going to surrender your freedom, which may
yeah,
involve surrendering your life. That
yeah.
sounds crazy to an American, but just go north of the border to Canada, and they've already got a very thoroughgoing eugenics program. Let's turn that over to AI once and see how that goes, because we already currently have Canadian doctors, so-called, advocating people be killed through eugenics because they have sometimes depression or an otherwise easily cured physical ailment. They just don't want to deal with it. Okay, well, we can go ahead and give you assisted suicide. Turn that over to AI and think about the nightmare that that might entail.
With your social scoring card, right?
Yes.
Whether or not you're worthy. I mean, if you wouldn't take the vaccine, therefore wouldn't get a hospital bed or couldn't have a transplant, it's not that far of a stretch to think that with the wrong score
Yeah.
or the wrong likes, that these flock cameras, and not just flock, there are other cameras, I'll say flock-like systems that would surveil you 24/7 to know what political rallies you go to. They tell us they would know what medical appointments we're going to, what type of doctors it might be. They would be able to, they talk about predictive behavior. Palantir, they talk about predictive behavior. In the CBN 700 interview, great interview we played on the show, they say they're going to stop future crimes. Not even God stops. He gives us free will. That man thinks he can outdo God or undo what God has done. Shows you the depravity and the deceit, the arrogance, the rebellion against an almighty God that we are headed to with this. And you mentioned Canada, it's the MAID, medical assistance in dying.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily something you have to ask for. If
No.
they feel like you're worthy of a candidate, if they feel like you have Down syndrome or some issue that just doesn't give you quality of life, they'll make the decision for you, from what I understand.
And let's remember too that it was just in 2020, and I believe this was the first time, well, certainly the first time in modern American history, possibly the first time in all of American history, that all workers here in the US were determined to be one of two classes. You were either an essential worker or you were a non-essential worker, and every single American was classified as such just in 2020. Now extend the lines to that once AI starts coming online, and especially embodied AI starts coming online in a big way. If you're not familiar with embodied AI, I'll just point you out to Hyundai. Hyundai purchased Boston Dynamics a few years ago. Boston Dynamics was developing its humanoid robots, most famously Atlas. Hyundai has accelerated development of that, as a big company like Hyundai can do, and they're already planning to implement a large number of modern Atlas robots, the new generation of Atlas robots, in their American factories in 2028. So that's coming, and this will have the tendency to increase the numbers of so-called non-essential workers. And when we started classifying people as essential workers and non-essential workers, you should start have gotten suspicious about that right away, because if you combine that with, and I wrote about this at length in Endgame, the 100 year globalist elite desire for population control and determining who should be allowed to live and who should be allowed not to live. And you see the developments in Europe and in Canada with assisted dying, so-called. It's not difficult to draw troubling conclusions. And then turning this all over to a managed existence managed by artificial intelligence, which has its own biases that have been programmed into it. And you know what those biases are. They're not biases in favor of natural rights by any means. You start to see a very dark picture that could emerge from this. And it's something we need to be aware of as Americans, because it produces an existential threat to our way of life, to our Constitution, our liberty, and our well-being as individuals.
So Dennis, we have maybe 3 minutes before we go to commercial. Do you think that the AI data centers that all of a sudden, whether it's proposals or the actual building, the development, they're exploding
Yeah.
across the nation with 85 up to 85% disapproval, somewhere between 75 to 85% disapproval of the people? Is this part of what we're talking about?
100%. Absolutely.
When people say, oh, but you use a cell phone, so don't be against data centers. Or if you're going to oppose a data center, you can't use your cell phone. Not the same, right?
No, it's actually far beyond that. And it's one half of the technology implementation that you're going to see coming. So you've got to have the data centers at first. That's going to be the centralized hub for data storage and processing. And then you need to be able to distribute that access to those data centers wirelessly at extremely high capacity, which doesn't presently exist in the 5G world, but definitely exists in the next generation of wireless communication. The next generation of wireless communication is not about your cell phone. It's not about giving you better voice quality. It's about higher bandwidth for greater amounts of data to be transmitted between data centers wirelessly out to the edge of the network and autonomous embodied systems, AI systems that will be communicating wirelessly back and forth with these data centers. That's what it's all about. It's more bandwidth to enable this within, the entire country, within the entire world.
I mean, some of these are the O'Leary one, I believe in Utah it is, or maybe Idaho. The size of Manhattan is what we've been told. We've been told the heat coming from it would be equal, the equivalent of 23 atom bombs every day. I called chemists and I said, how can you even quantify that? They said, we absolutely can. And yes, it could. Two different chemists told me that. So, I mean, our survival alone, by the time we're competing for water rights, the electricity costs, going without electricity, a commercial industry here in Des Moines lost power to a cooling tower because the electric company didn't supply them what they normally do. Never happened before.
Yep. Well, we're talking about Kardashev scale civilizational changes at this point. And it's something that we've never been able to contemplate here as a realistic possibility on Earth, with our earthly experience. But the Kardashev scale to measure theoretical civilizational attainment is based on how a civilization utilizes sources. The lowest level of the Kardashev scale, which we have not yet gotten to, but are about to, is the ability to control all of the resources and marshal all of those resources on a single planet at 100% utilization. And when we're talking about paving the world in data centers, we're getting to that. We're getting to that for the first time.
Wow. Okay. So we're going to go to our next break here. When we come back, Juan, thank you so much. Just thank you. You have such a wide spans of different topics that you can discuss so well. When we come back, I'll
You're
play
welcome.
a little bit more clips of that, and as well, we'll play a clip on the new religion, transhumanism. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Do you like drinking toxins that could cause cancer, inflammation, and all kinds of other autoimmune diseases? Of course you don't. Well, much of our water in America is full of toxins. That's a proven fact. WorldviewWater.net. WorldviewWater.net is your solution so that you can drink good, clean water. In fact, I give it to all my 3 fur babies, all my 3 dogs. I have one under my kitchen sink, one of these filters, as well as on my shower. WorldviewWater.net.
This is our new NutraSwish, Numi NutraSwish. You can find more information at Numi, neumi.com/TTSS. neumi.com/TTSS, one of the products we offer because you all have different preferences and respond differently to different items. So this is our lavender. It's for ladies anywhere along your journey. No hormones in it, but if you're taking a hormonal supplement, you might want to check with your doctor. The blue is for anyone over the age of 18. It has glutathione, which is a antioxidant, helps with over 400 cellular functions, and it helps detox heavy metals, forever chemicals, graphene oxide, one of those terms we learned after 2020, and it helps detox glyphosate. The good glutathione helps detox glyphosate. Glyphosate is found in ag chemicals or lawn chemicals, and some are very concerned about possible links to cancers, HPVs, and diabetes. But the blue bottle, the glutathione, helps detox heavy metals, forever chemicals, graphene oxide, and glyphosate. Then there's the mango-colored bottle you see on your screen. Numi Neuro helps with your mind, your memory, and your focus. Now, again, after 2020, we heard something about brain fog, a term we'd not heard before. Whether it's from a virus or a vaccine, many have found relief, a little help with Numi Neuro, the mango-colored bottle. When used with the blue bottle, it is so positive that the American Brain Council wrote about it and it looked like an endorsement. Though we're told they don't write endorsements, it was simply a positive review of what they saw. You can find more information at neumi.com/TTSS, neumi.com/TTSS for the Tamara Scott Show. Why? Because we want you feeling your best. And when you use that TTSS link, you help us be our best.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. Dennis Behrend is my guest today. He is the author of Endgame, and I'm telling you, I think you need to have a copy of this. I just think it's helpful, whether we're talking about depopulation, whether we're talking about famine, whether we're talking about the World Bank, whether we're talking about digital bank currency, whatever it is, this is just a great guidebook of what they're going to do to us if they can, if we let them. And Dennis does a great job of weaving it all together on Amazon. Dennis, what is the website where people can find you?
Herald.com.
AmericanDailyHerald.com.
So check us out online at American Daily Herald.
Okay,
Yeah.
AmericanDailyHerald.com. All right. So Thomas, thank you very much. I couldn't find timestamps. For some reason, the way these are coming through my computer system, I'm not able to do that right now. So Thomas, thank you very much for helping me out here. Before we go, I'm just going to say Colossians 2:8. See to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy or empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of the world, and not according to Christ. I'm just going to put that. Oh, Thomas, thank you so much for having that ready. All right. So as we say that, I'm going to ask you, Thomas, to go to this new video. This is something that I don't know how I come across these things. AI probably puts all these weird things in my path, right? And so, and I bite, I take the bait. And so this is a Billy Crone Live. I don't know him. I know nothing about his ministry. This is not an endorsement or a comment or indictment of his ministry. I'm just going to talk to you about what we've found. He's talking about transhumanists consider their beliefs a religion and even have churches. You'll be surprised who all's in this, he says. They believe in the super well-being, super intelligence, super longevity. They believe that their science and technology will outdo or undo, and they're willing to sink billions of dollars into that. All right, so let's talk about this religious movement. It is a rebellious movement, in my opinion. Let's start at the footage going into the church, if we can, Thomas.
We're here at the Church of Perpetual Life, the world's first transhumanist church. The parishioners here call themselves immortalists. They believe that science and technology are the key to extending human life with the ultimate goal of immortality, physical immortality.
Who says I have to die? Death is horror. It shouldn't happen to anybody. It's not natural to die.
We feel the Creator intended for mankind to develop these technologies that will result in humans living for indefinite time periods. We are fighting against involuntary death and view immortality as the ultimate solution to every problem mankind faces.
All right,
Forever dumb.
and I want to come right back because he talks about a group that is fought. Well, let's go right to that next clip that has the screen of the Mormonists. I'm not picking on Mormons because I think it's going to be more than them. Let's show the Mormonist humanist movement screen.
Mormon transhumanist organization. You know why? Because they teach the lie from Joseph Smith that you are gods. You can become a god. That's
All
why
right.
they're merging with transhumanism. That's just a little side note.
So let's stop it right there. Not again to pick on the Mormons because you don't have to be Mormon to make something else your God, whether it's science, technology, your academia. In America, I have said for years that we've made education our God and the degrees are our idols. So it could be anything. Dennis, your thoughts after watching this video?
The devil tempted Christ the same way. Exactly the same way. We are seeing the devil do to us today through this transhumanist religion what the devil tried to do to Christ in the desert. And we know that This is a reaction against Christ's salvific mission. It's a direct reaction against Christianity. It's a direct reaction and attack on faith. And thus, it's a direct attack on truth. And so, all of us as Christians, uh, I would say even people who may be deists and who may not be traditional Christians. So, if you want to go back and look at Thomas Jefferson, for instance, I think all of us, even the deists among us, if there are any of those left, need to look at this very carefully because we all have the need for truth. And we are seeing instead a highly palatable version of deception being foisted upon us with this. And it's going to lead, well, in my personal opinion, if this is successful, it's going to lead to unbelievable amounts of death, unbelievable amounts of genocide to put to the pale anything that has gone before, which is saying a lot because the 20th century was the bloodiest century of genocide in all of human history. And I think this transhumanist religion uh, movement is much more dangerous. Which is hard to believe, but I think it's the most dangerous thing I've ever seen philosophically, what it could lead to. And let me put that into perspective for you. If you are successful, which I really don't see this happening, but let's just say you are successful at engineering biological immortality, more or less. Let's say you can engineer humans to live to 1,000 years old. Who gets to get that? And now we're right back to the essential and the inessential among us. And who makes that choice? And how many of the inessential are there and what happens to them? I think that we're playing with the most dangerous fire here, which again goes right back to the deception from the devil. This is what we're seeing. We're seeing it in its most blatant appearance right before us, and it's extremely dangerous. I don't think we are confronting anything more dangerous in all of human history than right now. It last reared its ugly head when Christ was on earth saving us. Here we are again, and Christ has given us in the gospel the answer. We just have to make sure we look there and follow it.
You went exactly where I was thinking as well. In Genesis, God warned not to eat of the tree of knowledge. He warned. And remember, that's what tempted Eve.
Yeah.
You could be like God. You could have that same knowledge. That's how Satan caused Eve to fall for the temptation.
Yeah.
You see it here, whether it's immortal life. I don't even know if that's a good thing, honestly. I gotta tell you, you wake up in the morning and creak out of bed. I don't know, I want to live 300 years old, right? So, but again, we are overstepping. It's arrogance. It's rebellion. It's sad to me because if we would live within the law of nature, understanding our creator, people would be so much happier than they are today. Yesterday's video, that first 8 minutes, talked about pursuit of happiness, and those who came along with AI would be happy, and those who didn't would not be productive or happy. I totally disagree. Those of us, if we can, escape it, get away from it, live on the hillside in nature, walk in the grass, ground ourselves, eat natural herbs, praise our creator, and live in communion with him, we'll be the ones at peace and are happy.
Yeah, the Creator gave us free will and our natural rights as a part of that. And if we give that up, we're no longer human, which of course is what the transhumanists want. Transhumanism literally means to progress beyond the human. And I don't think that is a recipe for human happiness. When you are rebelling against the Creator himself, no good is going to come from that. And I think when you see people who isolate themselves already from the reality of living as an autonomous person. So if you take a look at any dictatorship of the past, how happy were those people that were living under the chains of dictatorship? They weren't. They had their autonomy, their legitimacy, their moral being stripped away from them by dictatorship, and they were not happy. That's why so many people have often always tried to escape those dictatorships and come to the United States, where we celebrated individual freedom and protected it. If we forge our chains in AI, that will be more thoroughgoing tyranny than any humans ever experienced before. And it is clearly historical precedent teaches us. We can look in our history books and find it. No one's going to be happy. It's not a recipe for happiness.
Absolutely. You remind me of two things. When in Israel, I believe it's called the Masada, up on the cliff where the Jewish community was living, and the Romans were coming after them with a catapult. That's amazing to me how they ever were able to do what they did. But the story is, according to Josephus, that they killed family members, and then between a handful of them killed each other, and then one had to commit suicide. They left full food reserves in the storage area because they wanted those trying to conquer them to know we were not desperate. We weren't at our wits' end. We could have survived. We would rather die with our God than serve you and your false gods. Boy, I wish we remembered that here in America. I wish we had that resolve. And it goes back to a quote of Winston Churchill, which I paraphrase, which may not be nearly as eloquent as he says it. But he says, if you refuse to fight when you have every chance of winning, you will someday fight with no hope of victory, because death will be no worse.
Yeah. That was wisdom.
My question is, will these folks even be able to have the mindset to fight back? If we don't do it now, Dennis, will we even be able to have the mindset to fight back?
There's reason to be concerned about that, for sure. Like I brought up that NBA player, we see what's happening in our schools. Are the younger generations, are they going to be able to have the intelligence still and the moral intelligence to be able to do this? I'm going to be optimistic and say yes, because very often these extremes that occur tend to become obvious to those who are able to see. And those people come out of that more well-informed, more able to have the proper perspective, and they become the leaders of the resistance, if you will, and tend to be successful. We saw it in our own history with our revolution against the British. We couldn't have won that. No one would have thought we could have won that. America can't be independent. That can never happen. Those colonies haven't a prayer. But a set of circumstances made a small group of American patriots, colonialists, understand their natural rights. It was smelted down in the furnace of, terrible occurrences that they were being put through by the British against odds of survival in a dangerous wilderness, by the way. And they came out of it more able to see the truth and the value of acting on the truth and defending their rights and their freedoms. And they founded the greatest country on earth, and they gave us our founding documents, which protect our rights to this day by recognizing that they come from our Creator, that they come from God. And we're like no other place on earth. So they were able to do it against every possible odds that you could even imagine then. And I'll choose to be optimistic and say we're going to see a generation be able to do that again.
Which is why we have one God, one true God, mentioned in our Declaration of Independence several times, not several gods ecumenically, one God that they trusted for their provision, their direction, their protection in his providence. We'll be right back. Dennis Buren is my guest today. And Dennis, thank you so much for that little bit of encouragement. We just have to keep our eyes on him and on the mission he's given us. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Three years ago, the United States was stunned by an announcement from war-torn Korea. U.S. Army Private David Hawkins and 20 other prisoners of the communists had become turncoats. They had renounced their own country and disappeared behind Red China's bamboo curtain.
What had you heard? Well, only what our Chinese captors had told us, how great they were working toward socialism, the great strides that they were taking, bettering the life of the Chinese people who for so many thousands of years had lived a life of oppression under various governments.
All right, everybody. And as you know, we offer you the source This is from frequence.com/Tamara Scott, frequence.com/Tamara Scott. What this is just a little eyedropper and you put it in your beverage. What I like about it is, yes, it's a little darker color, but I don't taste anything. And I don't have to put it in a big old 8-ounce or 20-ounce. I can put it in whatever I'm drinking, a little coffee mug, and that way I get it. There's nothing worse than spending money, buying something and putting it in a big drink you're not going to finish, which was always my problem with collagen, which is why I do like my Bella Grace. And you heard Dr. Brand on the show. Dr. Brand was thrilled that we had the liquid collagen. So this is the Bella Grace, Tamara.BellaGraceGlobal.com, Tamara.BellaGraceGlobal.com. And of course, we've got the NutraSwish. You can find that at, let me see, I'm at Numi, NEUMI.com/TTSS. All of these products you are welcome to. Why we offer so many? Because you all have different preferences. You respond differently to different ingredients. And so we want you just to find what works for you to be your best. You may not like or even appreciate all of the products at each site. That's okay. Go to the grocery store. We don't expect you to buy everything in it. We just make them accessible to you. And that way you can feel your best. And when you use our link to our show at any of those, that helps us be our best. All right, back to Dennis Beard. Dennis, one, I just want to thank you for what we're talking about here, transhumanism. It's, I like my tinfoil tiara, right? I would never wear a tinfoil hat, but I could wear a tiara. I could actually wear a tiara. And so one of our viewers sent, I have a couple from different viewers, and I just think it's hilarious. But we're not talking about conspiracy here. They're proving us true. I keep having to get new conspiracy theories because mine keep coming true. And so let me play, if I can. Let's go, Thomas, to the same video. We just talked about Yuval Harari. I have it on the Tamara Scott Show page for you. We just played starting at 8 today, and we're talking a little bit. Here they say, by 2030, the synthetic experiences won't just look real. They'll be indistinguishable from reality. They won't just look real. They'll be indistinguishable from reality across every sense: touch, smell, even memories they leave behind. That is frightening to me, right? He says you won't be able to sit down and just talk with a digital recreation of someone you loved and lost. So for all of you who are mourning somebody, you'd be able to have a conversation with them, only it's not a conversation with them. That's what you're going to have to remember. And I've already heard supposed Christian commentators say, is it wrong for me to have an avatar with a girlfriend though I'm married? Yes. Yes, it is. Anything in the mind that would create lust or division or take your interest away from your spouse that God gave you, yes, in my opinion, yes, it is. All right, so let's go to 2320, Thomas. Let's play 2320. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't warn you. Yuval Harari, 2320 mark.
Or even in services. It will live in the ability to transform someone's subjective experience of being alive.
Right. So what he's talking about is how unsettling. It seems unsettling. He said what's going to happen is you're going to discover the distinction bothers us less than we assumed it would. Synthetic experience will trigger our emotions and teach us the same lessons and produces the same personal growth that something happened.
It's normalization of lying as a way of life. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And how can you have a productive civilization founded on lies? And again, we go back to the great deceiver. I think Elon Musk and I think a few other people have likened the potential of AI to being that of demonology, to being demons. That's really what we're building here. We're seeing people like Harari celebrate the creation of our own demons, telling us lies. I don't think that's a future that we really should be striving to have. It's a future we should be aware of and be warned about. But that brings us back to your tinfoil tiara, I think, a little bit. We don't have to think about this as a conspiracy because if we listen to people like Harari and the others who are like him, who are in favor of this transition to what they call a post-singularity civilization, they're going to straight out tell you what they're trying to do. It's not hidden. It's not a conspiracy. They are very open with what they are hoping to achieve. And what's worse, and perhaps maybe what's galling, is they think it's a fait accompli and that there's nothing you mere citizen can do about it. It's going to happen to you. You're going to have it happen to you regardless of whether you like it or not. And that is also a message we need to counter, because that's not true at all. There are concrete steps that we can take to make sure these things don't happen. So, for instance, we talked in the last segment about assisted suicide in Canada, and we talked about the potential creating of conditions for really horrific genocide in the future, in a transhumanist future. Well, one of the things that we can do to prevent that from ever happening is make sure in this country that we never allow assisted suicide to become the law of the land. And if you're in Canada or you're in Europe, it's about time for good concerned citizens to think about ways in which they can get that overturned and get that out of their law as well, because that is one of the implementing measures that would be able to be used in a future transhumanist dystopia. And if it's not in the law, that makes it that much harder. So get rid of that, and here in the US, prevent it from happening. We got to be aware of these things so we can take concrete steps. They want you to think it's inevitable, and it's not.
Which reminds me, Dr. Heidi Klesick is one of my guests often. She's the one who brought together the brain death fallacy and how patients were being willed in to have their organs harvested when they weren't meeting the criteria. You hear what I'm saying?
Yep.
They weren't dead. And I sent to her, I think it was out of Harvard, that they're now going to come up with a new death by organ transplant. They're now going to, so that would open the path for what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, these people are always going to look for innovative ways to sneak in things that get them closer to their goals. And we just have to be aware and calling those things out and drawing clear distinctions as to what they portend and what they really mean and what these could lead to. And independent thinking Americans are quite good at this. And that's why we also have to make sure that we raise good, well-trained kids who can independently think and verify and reason, because that's ultimately, that's our country was designed for us that way. And it's given us the tools to be able to protect ourselves from, liars, cheaters, and people who would pull the wool over our eyes to get their agenda passed. So, use our ability to reason, project the lines, and support legislative agendas that move the needle away from these agendas that the transhumanists are trying to get through.
And again, for our viewers, in your opinion, the Flock or other brand, it's not just Flock, other brand of cameras, of mass surveillance, of facial recognition, of biometric scanning, the AI data centers all play into this control?
Yeah, they all do. And also, let's just make it more alarming. Probably most people are now aware of the fact that AI image generation is becoming very, very, very good. And once a sample image of any given person is acquired and stored, then that sample image can be used to recreate that person with ever greater amounts of fidelity. You see, Hollywood stars are starting to have some reaction against studios using their likeness without their consent to create false actors appearing in films where these actors never had to. And of course, they want to do that because they don't have to pay the actor then. But this is not something that's just a Hollywood problem. This is an everywhere problem as AI gets better and better at this image manipulation. And so once your image is captured by a Flock or other camera that's stored in the data center, and AI, as it gets better and better and maybe gets more autonomous in what it does, could we see ourselves being depicted doing things we never did?
Absolutely.
You got to be very aware.
So glad you brought that up. We've already discussed it with children. If you are one of those who puts your child's face online, people can take that. They've generated pornographic images that haunt those kids the rest of their lives. So yes, good wisdom there, Dennis. We are out of time. I always am so appreciative when you can join us. Dennis Behrend is my guest today. Endgame is the book I talked about. The name is Behreandt, and the website is Daily Herald.
AmericanDailyHerald.com.
DailyHerald.com. Thank you so much, Dennis. Always a joy when you can stop in. To everybody out there, we tell you to live boldly, love better, laugh ever. Be encouraged, but do not be complacent.
2 years ago, whatever was 100% of my traffic